The trial of Derek Chauvin ended in 3 counts, all 3 counts convicted. Many people were celebrating in the streets after the conviction. I was traveling when I heard that the jury had reached a verdict. It wasn't very long that they deliberated, it doesn't appear. And shortly after the announcement was made that they reached a verdict, the announcement was made. Now, I got a number of phone calls from media people asking me what my opinion was. And I said from the very beginning, this is a trial of an individual officer who allegedly murdered an individual suspect named George Floyd, nothing more, nothing less. Even in the opening statement, the prosecution made it clear that the Minneapolis Police Department was not on trial. So I don't know why you felt it was on trial. A jury reached a conclusion. I thought the jury saw it the way they saw it, and I don't think they reached an unreasonable verdict. I would hope that had they reached a different verdict, the same people out in the streets would not have been out in the streets rioting and terroring and looting on the grounds that 12 people reasonably saw it differently than you did. Now, I thought that there is an excellent chance that this trial is going to be reversed on appeal because of what Maxine Waters said over the weekend. She all but said that if you don't reach a guilty verdict, there's going to be violence in the streets, and I'm going to be supporting the violence in the streets. Alan Dershowitz even said that was grounds for reversal. The judge said on the record, I'd never seen that. Sidebar on the record, he said, I will concede to you, he said to the defense, that Congresswoman Waters may very well have given you grounds for mistrial on appeal. And I thought what he was going to do was poll the jurors one by one and ask whether or not he or she had heard what Maxine Waters said, and if so, what kind of effect it had on him or her. He didn't do that. I was surprised. And for that reason, also, there might be a reversal on appeal. Also, there was this, I told you about the lead prosecutor that people gushed all over. He made what I thought was a serious mistake near the end of this trial on the rebuttal witness when apparently some test that had been conducted, they had the results but didn't turn over the results until later on. It had to do with whether or not there was methane in the lungs of George Floyd, and apparently that test had been taken. The defense made some big deal out of that nobody had taken the test, but apparently the test was taken, but the documents weren't dumped on the defense until the final hour. You can't do that. And the judge was bothered by that and said, I'll allow you to ask this very narrow question about that, but nothing beyond that. And as far as I was concerned, the prosecution went too far. The defense jumped up, made an objection, and the judge once again instructed the prosecution on how to question the witness without stepping his bounds. So for those reasons, I also think there might be a very good chance that this trial might be overturned on appeal. And if so, please don't go out in the streets and yell and scream and tear things up. I've mentioned before when Martin Luther King said riots are the language of the unheard. A lot of people on the left quote MLK when he said that. What he also said was that they are self-defeating, socially destructive, and I will continue to tell my brothers and sisters with love that this is not the way. And he said that when a bunch of different people were in charge. There's a piece in NPR, which is left wing, came out in 2017, headline, "It's not your grandfather's LAPD, and that's a good thing." NPR, 2017, April. And it's about how the LAPD has changed from the one that a woman named Connie Rice, I understand she's some sort of cousin to Condi Rice. Connie Rice is a Harvard-educated civil rights lawyer who sued LAPD year after year after year for alleged violations of civil rights. And the article says the police department in 1992 was largely white, overwhelmingly male, led by Chief Gates, an authoritarian who ruled from the top down, on and on and on. For years before the 1992 riots, Rice says, cops felt comfortable denigrating black and brown people over their radios. When the transcripts of those conversations were introduced in court cases, Rice says they raised the veil on the subterranean culture that LAPD exposed to the black community and to the poor Latino community and any community that they decided wasn't on the right side of the thin blue line, close quote. All about what Connie Rice says. Again, April 26, 2017, it's not your grandfather's LAPD, and that's a good thing. Article says, this is the second paragraph of the article, quote, I can honestly say that the LAPD of 2017 is not your grandfather's LAPD. And it's not the LAPD of Daryl Gates that 25 years ago plunged this city into the biggest riots in modern American history, says civil rights lawyer Connie Rice. Rice spent a lot of time from late 1980s through the mid-1990s challenging police aggression in the city's communities of color, especially people in poor parts of the city where policing was designed less to protect and serve and more to contain and suppress, end of quote. That was then. And now you have people like Maxine Waters irresponsibly saying things like this?
I believe that it stems from the history of this country. It stems from slavery, when whites were absolutely in charge, and they absolutely controlled the lives of people and their families. If they decided to separate families and send the boys in one direction, the girls in another direction, the mothers to the big house, I mean, they've always been in charge. And I think that this thinking about the need to control, the need to, make sure that people stay in their place, so-called, has been, what has been basically what has happened in America for all of these years. And I think it continues in various ways.
Continues in various ways. Honestly. It advances her career. As long as black people are angry, they pull the lever for her. I'm Larry Elder.